You're listening to the AI Moment with me, Jonathan Wagstaffe.
And me, Danny Denhard.
And Danny, we're going to do a mailbox episode today. So what's the mailbox question we're going to look at?
The question, condensed the question down a little, but it was, my CEO is obsessed with AI, but he doesn't really understand it. What should I do? So there's a lot in there that I think many CEOs have fallen into the trap or have seen play out in the headlines in media, and they understand the basics of AI and they understand hype in the videos of it. And you've seen a lot of CEOs probably comment on LinkedIn. So dive in and tackle this one. Where would you start, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think it's, as you say, it's a common problem. We all see loads of stuff on LinkedIn and places, and people are moving products in 10 minutes when it used to take a week, and we cut costs by 30% and did all this. So everyone gets very excited. But actually the question is around what AI can do well and what it can't do well, and where's the hype at the moment. So I think probably the real question that we're being asked here is, how do you manage upward when your boss is enthusiastic but not grounded? I think that's what we've got to get to.
100%.
And I think one of the things you've got to do to start with is not really fight the enthusiasm, but just start to redirect it, really. Just start to play. So for instance, if somebody says, your boss comes in, it's like, we can transform the business with AI. So, okay, let's start. So which parts of the business do we think, what exact use cases are we talking about? Start to just unpick some of the specifics and get into where that enthusiasm is coming from, and where they think they're going to see the big benefits straight away. And then just start to unpick that with some questions that start to get down to the detail and test maybe how far they've thought it through as you engage with them. What do you think, Dan? What are you seeing?
Yeah, something you said is critically important, is managing up. Once you hit a certain level, managing up is majority of your job. Something I think is going to be critically important for the next couple of years with AI especially. I would say there are a number of different ways that we could address this, or I would recommend people address it. So I've written down our exec training, have a dedicated exec training day with AI, open their eyes to what's possible, but also put the blinkers on. And like you said, what it can do and what it can't do. I think that's critically important. So you could run a workshop or a hackathon, demonstrate how easy and how hard AI actually is, and disprove some of those crazy videos that, people in 50 agents to they've ruled their team apparently, but, we've talked around the overhype way. Something that we covered a number of months ago, but I actually think this is a really good exercise, is 5-day management AI exercise. And this way is that you can tackle any issue in the issue head on, but then also problem solve and come together creatively with it. And I think that's something that many people probably wouldn't be in a position to be confident in calling out. But there are many ways you can do the 5-day challenge. If you want, us to create one, happily let us know, and we'll do that. And I think the important thing is just showing how frustrating AI can be, especially when you're, vibe coding or vibe marketing or whatever the latest vibe keyword is, and then identify and show off how Block, Salesforce, and a lot of these companies that have done these like mass layoffs have actually gone back and hired again, because what a lot of people want to do is cut headcount, but what they're not actually willing to go off and review and research is the impact that's had, and actually having to hire back the smart people, the people that were performance reviewed out. So I'd do that, and then I would also go down the route of a GTM and show how success is actually harder, because so many people are going to market with so many more tools and apps and websites, etc. And I actually think that's the critically important part, is show, yes, it can help you, but as we've seen with different apps and different websites and things that have got a lot of buzz, if you don't get that go-to-market right, you're in a lot of trouble. So I'd even go through that point and go through that stress and strain to prove it over the long term as opposed to just the short term. And then I've got a load of different AI KPIs that we can tackle. But what do you think of those, Jonathan?
No, I agree with you, Dan. I think the key issue, as you say, is that people see these examples on LinkedIn and places like that and get very excited about it. It's always the best case. It's always a very narrow implementation or use case that can be shown to prove to work. I also think some of the some of the productivity gains and job layoffs are people actually AI washing. So they're saying we've achieved all this and we can now get rid of 1,000 people because of AI. They're actually using AI as the excuse. I think some of it goes back to the point you were making. I think some of it goes back to what we were talking about in a recent pod, which is about, AI. I don't think will replace jobs, it will replace tasks. And so you've got to do some of these exercises. You say, do your hackathons, do your workflow mapping, do the things that allow you to look at the current set of tasks and then decide which ones can be AI replaced in measured experiments. And so you start to get a realistic, it will absolutely help in a lot of areas, but let's be realistic about the areas, exactly which use cases, exactly what result do we think will happen? How are we going to measure that we're going to get that result? Where, as we said recently, where's human capital being wasted? So I think the approach you're talking about is exactly right. And then it's a question of how are you going to measure that sensibly to get to the point where you've got some real AI benefit. And there needs to be an acceptance with everyone that there are people out there who are really hyping AI and they are really taking very narrow versions of best cases and saying, and as you say, LinkedIn is full of people saying, I got rid of all my team and I'm now doing 10 minutes with 3 agents and comment below and I'll send you the hack that I use. And all it's just people self-promoting. So I think the thing for the people in businesses listening to us, where you are the kind of AI, the person who's really embraced AI, and you've got a boss who's enthusiastic but unrealistic, is your role is really to be the interpreter or the translator between. You don't want to deflect their enthusiasm, but at the same time, you need to contain that and start to ground it in reality and what you can achieve as a team, so that you help your CEO or your boss become ambitious without being delusional. So that should help the business move forward. That would be my observation, Dan.
Yeah, my sort of quick takeaways are, if you can bucket things together so they understand it, so you can build things more quickly. Speed and efficiency are obviously the focus, but time to market for new features are going to be really important. So actually demonstrating that, understanding it, breaking them down. Quality, so is it reliable and trustworthy? The 2 V's, the 3 T's that we all say: time, trust, truth. Can you verify, can you validate it? Because it still hallucinates, there's still problems that happens quite a lot. Accuracy can be off. Even the greatest of developers who are sat in Claude Code, not necessarily developing, still have to go in as if it's a junior coder. So just bear that in mind. There's economic factors, which are cost and revenue. So is it cost per query? Is it token usage? You have to really understand that your CFO might be your best friend in this instance. And then strategic. So what is the long-term value you're getting from it? So is it percentage of revenue that's coming from AI, etc.? So there are a lot of levers you can go down, but I'm confident we've given, in sort of 8.5 minutes, we've given a good way to tackle it. But in the support and newsletter, we'll break down all the things that we said, so you don't have to go back. But yeah, good luck on your AI journey.
You start to get into the space of key performance indicators there, Dan, which would be the subject for another pod, I think. So yeah. Good to see you, my friend, and I will see you next time.
See you next time. Thanks for listening today, everyone. If you liked what you heard, please give us a rating and review in any of the podcast players. We have a supporting newsletter, which is aimoment.co.uk, that comes out on Mondays and Fridays with every pod, and we dive a little bit deeper. So please subscribe there. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.